He was the last cowboy. Hollywood could still believe in a man who turned the American West into a mirror for honor, loyalty, and pride. For 5 years, Kevin Costner carried Yellowstone on his shoulders, building an empire out of dust and silence. Then, when the show reached its peak, something cracked behind the camera. The studio wanted more seasons, add verlieber Vox Decade and number Vox.0 and row 20.01. The writer wanted control. And the man who built the myth was suddenly treated like a relic in his own story. Tonight, we look at the betrayal that broke television's biggest phenomenon and the confession that finally set its creator free. They said Kevin Costner left Yellowstone. But maybe Yellowstone left him first? In a town where loyalty is currency and power rewrites every story, he chose to ride alone to lose everything but his truth. When he stood at Cannes and said, "You can lose everything and still keep your story," the room went silent, not out of pity, but respect. Because in Hollywood, legends aren't the ones who stay. They're the ones who walk away when the land stops feeling like theirs. When Yellowstone premiered in 2018, Kevin Costner wasn't chasing relevance, he was defending a dying kind of storytelling. At 63, he had nothing left to prove. 2 Oscars, Dances with Wolves, decades of box office hits, and the mythic image of the last American man. But he felt Hollywood had lost something. Everything's about superheroes now, he told Vanity Fair in 2019. No one's making stories about land, honor, or what it costs to hold on to something you love. Yellowstone became that story. Created by Taylor Sheridan, co-produced by Paramount Network. The show turned Costner into John Dutton, a patriarch guarding a ranch the size of a small kingdom. Surrounded by corruption and greed, the ratings exploded. By 2021, it was the most-watched cable drama in America, pulling 10 million viewers per episode. Costner's face weathered. Unbending was everywhere. Billboards, interviews, think pieces, calling him the new John Wayne. But behind the myth, something was shifting. Sheridan, the ex-actor turned screenwriter, began to rise like a second son. He wasn't just writing Yellowstone anymore. He was building a cinematic universe, 1883. 1923. 6666. And Paramount loved it. Costner's inner circle told Deadline he felt sidelined in the empire he helped build. On set, creative control started tilting. Sheridan was now both the pen and the power. It used to be about the story, one crew member told The Hollywood Reporter. Then it became about who owned it. The applause was deafening. But Costner, ever the stoic, began to withdraw. He smiled in press junkets. But privately, he told a friend, "You can't tell a story about loyalty in a place that doesn't understand it." The silence had begun. By 2022, the empire was thriving, but the king was restless. Sheridan's star power skyrocketed after untold success. The studio began prioritizing spin-offs, merchandising, and streaming deals. Paramount executives wanted Yellowstone to film more, faster. Costner refused. He was juggling another dream, a massive Western saga he'd been writing for decades. Horizon and American Saga. He promised to direct it, fund it, and star in it. Sheridan saw it as betrayal. The tension spilled onto the set. One insider told Puck News, in early 2023, Sheridan felt Costner was abandoning the ranch. Costner felt Sheridan was turning it into a circus. Emails leaked between production managers and agents. Negotiations broke down over shooting schedules. Sheridan allegedly wanted Costner for 65 days per season. Costner's camp countered with a single week. To the media, that became the headline, "Kevin Costner too busy for Yellowstone." Sheridan fired back indirectly in an Esquire interview. If someone's not willing to work as hard as the rest of us, the story has to move on. Hollywood read that as a declaration of war. Costner didn't respond, not publicly. But in Variety sources, his lawyer described the situation as deeply disappointing. The betrayal wasn't loud, it was bureaucratic. Contract by contract. And in true Western fashion, both men rode off in opposite directions, still pretending the other wasn't the villain. May 2023 Paramount confirms the inevitable Kevin Costner will not return for Yellowstone's final season. It was official. The man who was the show was gone. Fans erupted online, calling it a travesty, accusing Sheridan of ego and the studio of greed. But in truth, Costner's world had already collapsed elsewhere. His wife of 18 years, Christine Baumgartner, filed for divorce that same week. Paparazzi stalked him at airports. Headlines screamed Costner abandoned Yellowstone for his own vanity project. But behind the noise, he was in pre-production for Horizon mortgaging property, putting up his own money, refusing studio compromises. If it fails, it's on me, he told Deadline in 2024. But at least I failed telling the story I believe in. That story cost him everything: his marriage, his show, his reputation as easy to work with. But to Costner, that was the price of loyalty, not to a brand, but to his code. In an interview with GQ, he said quietly, "Everyone talks about power in Hollywood. Nobody talks about staying clean in it." He didn't name names. He didn't need to. The silence said, enough. By late 2024, Costner had become a ghost in the very landscape he built. Yellowstone continued without him. With Matthew McConaughey rumored as the new lead, Paramount released statements like apologies without ever saying sorry. Sheridan told The Hollywood Reporter, "There's no bad blood, just different roads." But insiders claimed Sheridan banned Costner's name on set. Meanwhile, Costner filmed Horizon across Utah, Nevada, and New Mexico, sweeping, lonely, self-financed. He slept in trailers, directed under desert storms, and paid crew out of pocket when investors backed out. Those who visited said he was quieter, thinner, but focused. He wasn't angry, said one cameraman. He just looked free. The world called it a fall from grace. But for Costner, it was purification, a man shedding everything fake that had clung to his legend. The applause was gone. The silence, finally, was his. In May 2025, Kevin Costner appeared at the Cannes Film Festival for Horizon's premiere. He walked the red carpet alone, no studio logo, no Paramount entourage. When asked about Yellowstone, he didn't dodge. "I built something I believed in," he said. "Then I watched people turn it into something I didn't." That quote spread like wildfire. The Guardian called it a confession disguised as an elegy. Critics who expected bitterness found something else: melancholy, dignity. The reviews for Horizon were mixed, but the applause that night was long, almost reverent. As he accepted a standing ovation, Costner's eyes welled up. "You can lose everything," he told the audience, "and still keep your story." For Hollywood, it was another comeback tale. For him, it was closure. In the end, he didn't need Yellowstone. He was always the story, the last cowboy who walked away when the town got too corrupt to save.